It's about what people do when they feel trapped by a story they didn't write, but are now unable to get out of due of the transcript's framing. This isn't a courteous argument. Under the garb of interest, it's the phrase that appears to be a live wire. Mendeecees wants to go outside and meet quirky Denva. Although the language is informal, viewers immediately pick up on the strong suggestion. Something is cooking behind a joke or a throwaway. Simultaneous fire is raging in a legal in Ashley Dark makes that it's not an apology or an explanation for the social norms that many claim she violated. It's a clear declaration about something quite different. Thankfully, I am an adult who interacts with other consenting adults. And it's okay if we want to delve into the specifics of it. However, it's consenting when an adult gives consent to another consenting adult. Adult to consenting adult indefinitely. And that's when the tension changes, because during a scandal, people discuss about what transpired, but also about its implications. Was it just sloppy, or was it illegal? Did someone simply violate a code, or did they breach the law? Additionally, the transcript repeatedly circles that awkward question as if it's attempting to arrive in a safe place. But that cannot be sustained because it has never happened and never. All right? Who declared that she violated the law? Has anyone mentioned that she violated the law? If anything, you were accused of breaking the girl code. Perhaps friend code stated that she violated the law. If anything, you were accused of breaking the girl code. As a result, there are currently two ongoing controversies. One that seems to linger in the air like a threat, and another that seems like a defense designed specifically for the reunion sofa. And in the midst of it all, the internet does what it always does. Chooses sides, alters chronologies, and purportedly into assurance in the remarks. However, the rumor itself isn't the most terrifying aspect. Single quotations are used. Transcript suggests that the story didn't begin when Funky said it aloud, since the narrator claims that since the streets were already chatting, the situation no longer feels like gossip, but rather like a file that has been open for some time. And if that's the case, and people were already gossiping before to the video, then the genuine question is, why are they all making such an effort to refute? And why does it seem like someone is prepared to deal with it outside? It's not by coincidence that this situation feels chaotic, feels staged by human behavior, something far more predictable rather being scripted or planned. Ego, significance, and the anxiety of losing narrative control. The fact that so many individuals are speaking while so few are truly stating the same thing is immediately noticeable. Everyone is answering. Everyone is elusive. No one is arriving at the same location. Does not vanish when that occurs. It is overshadowed by performance. Here, timing is one of the most significant patterns. Some statements only surface when the cameras are turned off. Only when the official platform is removed and the internet takes center stage can a certain level of confidence emerge. People's behavior during filming differs dramatically from their boldness once the show is finished. And that distinction is important because it shows intent. The idea that some people aren't done with the spotlight, even when the spotlight may be done with them, keeps coming because of this peculiar relationship. Interviews begin to feel less like introspection and more like negotiation. Not negotiation with the audience, but with actual relevance. Additionally, it ceases to sound like victimization and begins to sound like dependency. When someone repeatedly returns to the same setting that they claim is toxic, because unless there is something they still want from a place, people often don't return to places that have caused them pain. Tone starts to become frustrated. Not merely annoyance at others, but annoyance at being overlooked, excluded, or neglected. Rejecting story ideas and moments that don't reach the final cut not only damages pride, but also puts one's position in jeopardy. Additionally, narratives become more acute when a position feels challenged. Consistency becomes so crucial. Someone is associated with specific individuals at one point, sharing scenes, seeming amiable, and acting out the part. The same person completely reframes the relationship the next moment. claiming to have more in-depth knowledge, older ties, and other motivations. Viewers automatically get whiplash as a result of it. People start listening for strategy rather than facts. When stories are constantly changing depending on where they are being told, when Ashley enters the conversation, that same strategic intensity is evident because Ashley doesn't gently enter, though not in the manner that others anticipate. She enters defensively, rather of dealing with the viewer's emotional distress. She completely reroutes the debate. She establishes a boundary regarding legality. She clarifies that no laws were committed and that whatever occurred involved consenting adults. That is a strong defense. However, because there isn't any debate on the internet, it doesn't emotionally address the subject that people are really asking. Whether anything was lawful, suitable is up, and those are two completely different discussions. Conflict arises when someone makes a legal defense in response to social criticism. It feels out of alignment, not because the argument is incorrect. It's similar to answering this felt incorrect about this, even though it was technically correct. Emotionally disappointing. And the story survives because of that imbalance. Beneath that response, something else is taking. Not often, but frequently. It can appear as fear when people defend against allegations that were never fully made. Since no one was actually claiming that the law was broken, it begs the question of whether the defense is directed at the audience or something more profound. It was social, not legal, discomfort. Boundaries, not criminality, were the subject of the criticism. Therefore, there is a gap when the defense just concentrates on legality, and holes encourage conjecture. Only when the discussion turns to patterns inside the show itself does that conjecture get more intense. Storylines are sculpted, altered, or just made up. This is not a novel concept. However, when actors publicly imply that stories are false, it undermines everyone's trust. Viewers begin to assume that real-life explanations aren't entirely honest after they think the show isn't. And since every rejection is being handled like damage control, that's risky territory. Additionally, all explanations are handled like spin. It is nearly impossible for anyone to properly close a story in this setting. Silence itself becomes suspicious. Even confidence is called into doubt, because more than simply words are being heard by the audience. They are gauging intent, tempo, and tone. This is precisely the reason why Mendeecees' condition doesn't go unnoticed. Everything changes when he admits that his relationships with the audience initially believed. It reopens preconceived notions rather than timelines are questioned. Motivations are re-examined. In retrospect, past encounters suddenly seem different. At that point, Tamar takes a bold but reactive as well. She leans into the conversation rather than letting it dissipate. She reinterprets criticism as a chance. She transforms accusations into quantities in dollars. Additionally, it appears confident at first glance, as if someone is dismissing it. Her confidence typically doesn't need an explanation. It indicates that the insults were significant when someone can recall each one with enough clarity to place a price on it. It implies that they touched down. Confidence combined with annoyance produces cacophony rather than clarity. The one guy at the center of the storm gets oxygen from that cacophony. Deneva is funky, because Funky is now more than just someone who spread a rumor. He was the one who wouldn't back down. After being pushed back, he didn't let go. He didn't make it softer. He didn't back down. He went twice as hard. And that alters how the assertion is perceived. Repetition doesn't make something true, but it makes it more difficult to ignore, particularly when it incorporates particular experiences, imagery, and a story that explains behavior, instead to merely making accusations. Denial gets more difficult to uphold after that. At this time, Mendeecees is into a pivotal moment. He responds to the accusation rather than emotionally separating himself from it. He makes it clear that he wants a fight, face to face, not through declarations or explanations. This is important because rumors become more than just gossip, presented as something that needs to be addressed face to face. It turns into pride. it turns into an ego. On a human level, it starts to feel unresolved. Additionally, logic typically concludes that once ego enters the room, nobody is truly triumphing. The narrative is sustained by each thing. The narrative is sustained by each response. Every explanation creates a fresh perspective. The audience feels the pressure that comes with each denial. They have a feeling that something is off. The emotion proportionate, not necessarily because something unlawful occurred. Either too much or not enough is being done by people. Additionally, viewers begin to fill in the spaces on their own when responses don't match the circumstances. That's the actual hazard in this situation. Because proving what happened is no longer the goal of this. It's about who can maintain their composure while everyone else keeps talking. Who can control perspective, who can survive the story. At this moment, one thing is evident. Facts are not the reason this narrative is getting worse. Nobody appears to be able or willing to, which is why it's becoming worse. Now, the situation's energy has shifted from being reactive to being calculated. Not in a conspiratorial manner, but rather in a method of... It appears that everyone is aware that words are more than just words. Leverage is what they are. Additionally, when leverage is involved, people begin to speak cautiously instead of openly. Language becomes the actual proof in this situation. Listen to the avoidance of certainty. How deadlines are left open-ended. How clean anchored sentences are replaced with terms like "at that point." These are not coincidental options. Saying nothing happened is definitive. Thus, these are the phrases people choose when they want flexibility in the future. However, allowing me to do as I choose maintains flexibility. Even if they are unable to express it, viewers see the way. They perceive it as hesitancy, defensiveness, or an unresolved issue. That's why timing becomes such a crucial issue. It reveals ambiguity rather than proving guilt. If everything were evident, there's no need to describe freedom. Instead of being philosophical, the explanation would be factual. The fact that there is no emotional distance associated with the denial adds to the tension. It is irritating. The chaos is altered by irritation. Comfort. By irritation, the more confrontational the conversation becomes, the more irritated that person becomes. Because I want to see you about it, and that's not true, are two different things. One is about the truth. Pride is the subject of the other. States that they would prefer a face-to-face meeting over a rumor. It indicates that the matter has progressed beyond the facts to include respect, reputation, and who feels publicly challenged. And once that boundary is passed, the focus shifts from what transpired to who embarrassed whom. This is why it feels more weighty than a normal gossip cycle. The audience's role that is subtly developing at the same time. Because viewers who already have doubts about reality television in general are judging this situation in real time. In addition to the individuals involved, audiences lose faith in clear explanations when they think plots are controlled. They believe that there is always a version that they are not exposed to. Therefore, even when someone speaks clearly, it doesn't clearly. When cast members themselves imply that storylines are fictitious or fabricated, this distrust is strengthened. Once the concept is presented, it quickly gains traction because it confirms viewers' pre-existing suspicions, which are not limited to the program. It permeates relationships, off-camera moments, real life and social interactions that were never intended to be. That's precisely why tales like this one spread, not because they've been verified, but because they seem credible in a setting where legitimacy is already questioned. Matter of perseverance. The accusation itself isn't one of the more disturbing aspects of this whole issue. Things is the inability to let things go. When people are forced to choose between two unpalatable conclusions, when someone makes the same claim in spite of opposition, rejection, and backlash. The audience is divided by whether the speaker is lying carelessly or whether they firmly believe what they are saying. While some see cloud chasing, others see courage. Some see the truth attempting to emerge. Others witness the creation of chaos. However, neutrality is no longer seen. Additionally, neutrality is important, because once it's gone, every response is interpreted with prejudice. This is the point at which the notion that the streets were already chatting becomes extremely risky, because the rumor now has several purported sources. It is no individual murmurs. It is more difficult to pursue voice, even if those rumors are unconfirmed and admitted as claimed. They acquire shape, and once they take shape, denial must put a fight. Attack control may potentially backfire because of this. Redefining insults as empowerment, making back, and turning criticism into humor. In addition to conveying the action, participation. Participation keeps this tale alive. People typically don't react to anything at all if it really doesn't matter. As a result, view that something is at stake when assertions, explanations, clarifications, and side remarks continue to be made. Consequences, not necessarily guilt. And everyone seems to be terrified of the consequences. Some people have reputational repercussions. For others, it's pertinent. Others find it embarrassing. For others, it can just mean losing control over how they are perceived. The responses feel inconsistent because of this. Others people talk too little, others talk too much, some talk past the problem, and some talk around it. And each strategy produces its own personal suspicion. This is made even more combustible by the confrontation angle, which implies that words alone are no longer sufficient. It implies that someone feels mistreated in a way that cannot be resolved by public The internet leans in at that point. Instead of asking what happened, viewers now ask what will happen. Will someone answer? Is someone going to escalate? Will someone make a mistake? Is it possible for someone to contradict themselves? The cycle is fueled by this expectation. Silence turns into a tactic. Pauses turn sinister. Every holdup is seen as preparedness. The knowledge that once the next reaction is given, it cannot be undone hangs over everything. Because at this point, the narrative is not brittle. It's loaded. Every new comment has the potential to either diffuse or intensify tension. Diffusion doesn't seem to be anyone's top priority. Based on how passionately committed everyone already seems, the remarkable thing is that none of this truly needs evidence to maintain perceived. The fuel is a reaction, not proof. The way people choose to react under duress is the fuel. And pressure only accomplishes one thing consistently. It makes cracks visible. Cracks of guilt are not always present. Fear of being misinterpreted, fear of being judged, and worry of looking foolish can all occur at times. However, once fissures emerge, viewers begin to pay closer attention to those fissures than to the initial accusation. They keep an ear out for tone shifts. Every time someone sounds less certain than before, the narrative is revitalized. One denial or explanation is obviously insufficient to address this matter at this point. It's too entangled. Too many individuals are emotionally invested. There are too many conflicting narratives. That's why this stage is so risky. Because when a narrative, the next development doesn't have to be dramatic to feel explosive once it reaches this phase. All it needs to do is feel different. A different word choice, a different tone, a distinct emotional intensity. Reinterpret everything. This implies that this is no longer past. Who loses control next is the key. Nobody can currently prove what's causing the tension. It's what no one appears to be able to release. Facts alone are no longer sufficient to put the subject back in the box since it has gone too far. Because truth is no longer the only problem. It's control, pride, and perception. One thing is becoming more and more obvious. Everyone concerned is responding not simply to the rumor per se, but also to how they perceive themselves as a result of it. Additionally, clarity typically suffers when image takes precedence. That change in the way explanations are presented is noticeable. There is positioning in place of clear solutions. Emotional signaling is used in place of grounding words. People are managing, not merely confirming or denying. Denial looks quesa, and that's where the tone begins to be more in content. It's not the same as saying nothing happened when someone claims they have no idea what's being discussed. It's a vaguer. It's more secure, becoming too precise. And while being vague may seem protective at the time, it also allows for interpretation. And the internet relies heavily on interpretation. The more this goes on, the more it resembles a public chess. Every word is an action. Each pause is a signal. Is examined closely. Audience is not awaiting confirmation. They are anticipating an error, because facts rarely reveal people in such circumstances. Inconsistency exposes them. The topic of why someone would vehemently deny news coming up. Not is inherently suspect, but rather because of the manner in which it is expressed. The edge, the defensiveness. You have absolutely no idea what that is. The space doesn't blow up. It gets tighter. When someone hears a name and their expression changes before the words do, there's a certain kind of stillness that occurs. The type where the atmosphere feels heavier, as if the microphone had detected a heartbeat it wasn't meant to. Furthermore, the question is no longer merely a hearsay at this point. It's about what people do when they feel trapped by a story they didn't write, but are now unable to get out of due of the transcript's framing. This isn't a courteous argument. Under the garb of interest, it's a warning. It's the phrase that appears to be a live wire. Mendeecees wants to go outside and meet quirky Denva. Although the language is informal, viewers immediately pick up on the strong suggestion. It's a clue that something is cooking behind the scenes, not a joke or a throwaway. Simultaneously, another fire is raging in a separate area of the legal internet. Ashley Darby makes a statement, but it's not an apology or an explanation for the social norms that many claim she violated. It's a clear declaration about something quite different. Thankfully, I am an adult who gives consent, who exclusively interacts with other consenting adults. And it's okay if we want to delve into the specifics of it. However, it's consenting when an adult gives consent to another consenting adult. Adult to consenting adult indefinitely. And that's when the tension changes, because during a scandal, people dispute not just about what transpired, but also about its implications. Was it just sloppy or was it illegal? Did someone simply violate a code, or did they breach the law? The transcript repeatedly circles that awkward question as if it's attempting to arrive in a safe place. Not be sustained because it has never happened and never will. All right? Who declared that she violated the law? Has anyone mentioned that she violated the law? If anything, you were accused of breaking the girl code. Perhaps friend code stated that she violated the law. If anything, you were accused of breaking the girl code. As a result, there are currently two ongoing controversies. One that seems to linger in the air like a threat, and another that seems like a defense designed specifically for the reunion sofa. And in the midst of it all, the internet does what it always does. Chooses sides, alters chronologies, and purportedly into assurance in the remarks. However, the rumor itself isn't the most effective. Single quotations are used. The transcript suggests that the story didn't begin when Funky said it aloud, since the narrator claims that since the streets were already chatting, the situation no longer feels like gossip, but rather like a file that has been open for some time. And if that's the case and people were already gossiping before to the video, then the genuine question is, why are they all making such an effort to refute? And why does it seem like someone is prepared to deal with it outside? It's not by coincidence that this situation feels chaotic, feels staged by human behavior, motivated by something far more predictable rather being scripted or planned. Ego, significance, and the anxiety of losing narrative control. The fact that so many individuals are speaking while so few are truly stating the same thing is immediately noticeable. Everyone is answering. Everyone is elucidating, however. No one is arriving at the same location. The truth does not vanish when that occurs. It is overshadowed by performance. Here, timing is one of the most significant patterns. Some statements only surface when the cameras are turned off. Only when the official platform is removed and the internet takes center stage can a certain level of confidence emerge. People's behavior during filming differs dramatically from their boldness once the show is finished. And that distinction is important because it shows intent. The idea that some people aren't done with the spotlight, even when the spotlight may be done with them, keeps coming up. Because of this peculiar relationship, interviews